And we are live. Mark, doing a quick sound check. How am I coming in?
Sound great. Coming in loud and clear.
Great, great. And you sound fabulous as well. Guys, I'm super excited to be with anybody who's watching this video on YouTube. This is something I've been looking forward to. I've known the speaker, my good friend, and who I hope is even a better friend over the coming years and decades. That's how I feel about this man, Mark, and his wife. But this is a reality check, and we're talking about the world of business. We're talking about the world of healthcare technologies. And I had this little idea planted in my head recently. You know, I need to do an interview with Dr. Mark Gordon. He's somebody I respect outside of the professional world that we work in, just as a person, as a good man, as a parent, as a husband, and as a phenomenal professional physician. Also a professional, very successful network marketer. So, Dr. Mark Gordon, good to be with you today.
Thank you, Seth. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And,
oh, go ahead.
Hopefully something that I say will resonate with somebody out there.
I have no doubt of it. I have no doubt of it. So, Mark, tell us, first of all, a little about yourself, personally, and then maybe leading into professionally.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Minnesota, grew up there, did all of my schooling in Minnesota. So I'm used to the cold. Really cold up there right now. But I've always had an interest in medicine from a very early age. And I knew basically when I was in 5th grade that I wanted to become a doctor. And got to medical school, went through all of the training and so forth, specialized in internal medicine and then finally in cardiology. And had spent some time at the National Institutes of Health that kind of helped steer me in the direction of cardiology. And I just found the heart to be fascinating and something that I could understand and was very interested in. So that kind of led me in that direction. Then, you know, after I'd been in practice for probably about 10 years, I started to notice that medicine doesn't really do a good job at prevention. You know, we're good for crisis intervention management. If somebody has a heart attack, we can come in and put a stent in no time flat and get the artery opened up. But the bigger question is, why don't we do a better job at preventing things from getting broken in the first place? And so I had this epiphany one night. Well, actually, it was early in the morning, about 2 in the morning. I was doing an angiogram on a 42-year-old man who was having a heart attack. And I just said to myself, we have to do a better job at prevention. 42-year-olds shouldn't be having heart attacks at 2 o'clock in the morning. They should have them between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but they shouldn't be having them, period. If they're going to have them, it would be preferable to be between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. But so when I had that epiphany, that's when I kind of went out and started to research what was out there for physicians to learn more about prevention. So I got involved with some conferences at the University of Arizona, and then ultimately it led me to the path of pursuing a fellowship program in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, which is a lot about prevention, a lot about nutrition, lifestyle management, supplements, and so forth. So when I first got introduced to LifeVantage, it was through the ABC News investigative report that we've all heard so much about. And the person that had forwarded that to me didn't even know I was a physician at the time. She just got my number off of a list. So she happened to call me, and I watched the ABC News investigative report, and little did she know that I was a physician interested in prevention. So that's kind of what got me started on that road with LifeVantage and Protandim.
What was it about that ABC News report that caught your attention?
Well, as a cardiologist, I understood the role that oxidative stress plays in the development of cardiovascular disease. And I know that we have good medications for cholesterol and high blood pressure and so forth, but we don't really have anything that targets the oxidative stress component that leads to plaque formation and everything else. So that's probably the one thing that caught my attention. And when I watched that, I thought, this is very intriguing. They didn't have any really negative things to say, but it wasn't enough for me to jump on board. What I needed to do at that point is I needed to do my own due diligence, which I did. I went to pubmed.gov, and it's a website that I was very familiar with. As a physician, we go to that website all the time to get medical information about the latest therapies and so forth. And I went to that website and I typed in the term Protandim, and I found at the time 7 published peer-reviewed studies, and I was reading through them. And then it was the American Heart Association study that really caught my attention. And that's when I said, this stuff has to be the real thing, because the American Heart Association is not going to publish a study in their prestigious journal about snake oil.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. So from that, and interestingly enough, I mean, today, as we record this, early 2017, there were 7 studies at the time on that science, and now there are on PubMed, the National Institute of Health website, National Library of Medicine, 22 studies?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
How significant is that to you?
Well, as the physician that was interested in prevention, I would get all of the patients that would come in that would be on all of these different supplements, and all my partners would throw up their hands because they didn't know what any of them were or what they did, because they're trained in medications, not in supplements. But with my training, I did have knowledge about those things. And so oftentimes patients would bring me the latest, greatest thing that they heard about from somewhere, and they would ask me to tell them what my thoughts were on it. So inevitably what I would do is I would go to PubMed and I'd type in the name of the product and I'd see what kind of studies they had. And 99% of the time they didn't have any. Mm-hmm. So that's why when I went to PubMed with Protandim, I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw that they actually did have published peer-reviewed studies. I didn't honestly expect that, but that was the one thing that really made me take a look at this and decide, this is something worthwhile. This is something I need to learn more about.
So that's fascinating, by the way. Take us from, okay, this is something very different, the studies, etc. How do you get wrapped up in the business then? I mean, you're not just a consumer, you're not just, you're not just taking the product, you're full-fledged doing network marketing. How does that happen?
I'm the bearded lady at the circus, right? Everybody wants to go see the crazy cardiologist who's doing network marketing. So, back at the time when I was introduced to this in November of 2010, Maria Williams, who was the woman who asked me to watch the ABC News story, she didn't really know anything about me. She didn't know that my wife had just gone through surgery for breast cancer, and I was actually looking for something to help improve our health. And so when the ABC News investigative report was shown to me, that was something that really caught my attention. And I thought, this is something that I want everybody in my family to take for the rest of their lives. But I had no intention whatsoever of doing the business. So when I first signed up, the next morning I got a phone call from Maria and from Carrie Dickey and Carrie Williams welcoming me to the business. And I said, guys, thanks, but I'm not doing the business. I'm just going to take this product. And what ended up happening was, over the next probably 2 months, I had just shared it with a few people who had some significant health issues, and they noticed dramatic improvements in things. And then in January of 2011, we were invited to go to an elite academy down in San Diego. So if you live in the northern part of the country and somebody asks you in January to go to San Diego, you usually say yes. So we said yes to get away from the cold, not really intending to earn or learn much from the Elite Academy. But what we came away with was, this was an amazing product. We heard Dr. McCord speak about it. We heard the top corporate people and the top distributors speak. And my wife and I at that point decided that, this is something that we could start as a plan B. And I said, we'll work hard for a year and we'll see how things go and see where we're at. So we did. We worked very hard. We came back home. We talked to everybody that we knew. We started doing meetings on a weekly basis, and it grew exponentially. And, when we saw that this is something that was real, that the money was real, that the business opportunity was real, and it was open to everybody, we started to pursue it more and more. And then after 5 years being involved with the company, I was blessed enough that we were able to have myself retire from cardiology and do this full time. And that's what I'm doing now.
Wow. That's awesome. When you say, it's a good thing that conference wasn't in like,
Detroit.
Detroit. The conference is in Detroit. We're not having this conversation.
That's right. That's right.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I mean, did they fly you down to
No.
San Diego?
No.
I mean,
No,
you had to pay your way to get there.
We paid our way, and we got a nice hotel to stay in when we were down there. And we just kind of used it as a mini vacation in the middle of the winter. And for those people who live in northern climates, you kind of have to do that for your own sanity. You have to go somewhere else, at least for a short time, to make it through the winter.
Well, it's a good thing it wasn't in Salt Lake City. I mean, it's not known for being particularly warm.
Could have turned it into a ski trip then, but
okay,
it was much more attractive.
So you talk about, because I know some people, when they think about, doctors, I mean, healthcare professionals tend to be inundated, as you said, with products to try and network marketing products, right? Because there are a lot of network marketing products in the nutritional world. So you get involved in network marketing. How did you build your business? I mean, because you're a doctor, you're just able to plug and play, and you've got thousands of patients. I mean, I know some people think, if I could just get a doctor, and I don't think it's not really that way, right?
No, in fact, because I was employed by a hospital, I was not allowed to talk to my patients about this. So the business that my wife and I built was completely outside of my medical practice. Now, that being said, there were patients of mine that wound up on the products, but it wasn't because I had actually been the person to speak with them about it. They heard about it from somebody else, but then they heard that I was an advocate for it, so that probably made it easier for them to say, yes, I want to get on board and start taking this. But we did it the old-fashioned way. We talked to family, friends, acquaintances, and enrolled people that way. We didn't enroll patients. There are some physicians who do. If they own their own practices, they can do that. But if they're employed by a hospital, chances are they can't.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you did it the old-fashioned way, just like, the plumber or whoever, the business guy, the stay-at-home mom. Resistance to getting involved in network marketing. Did you experience any of that external resistance?
Oh, absolutely. My colleagues thought that I'd lost my mind. They thought that this was crazy. Why was I doing this? This was a really bad idea. They thought that, Mark, you're above this. Why are you doing network marketing? And to go back a little bit, there was a dietitian that worked with me very closely, and she and I knew that some of my physician partners were putting some patients on supplements like fish oil and coenzyme Q10 and so forth. But unfortunately, patients would just go out to the hinterlands and buy their product, and you never knew if they were getting decent product or not. So we put together a proposal that we would sell it in the lobby of the hospital, just as a little kiosk, some high quality stuff, so we knew our patients would get the right stuff.
Right.
And so when we proposed that to the CEO of the hospital and to my partners, we were just shot down, and we were told that, doctors don't do that. Doctors don't sell supplements and blah, blah, blah. So I never really got buy-in from any of my partners on this. And some of them were very vocally resistant to my doing this, even though I wasn't doing it in the clinic. They just didn't like the fact that I was doing it outside of the clinic.
How did you deal with that personally?
Well, at some point, you just have to roll up your sleeves and have thick skin and say, it doesn't matter what they say. But there were times when it did get me down, when people that you work with and you trust and have respect for think less of you than you feel that they should. Yeah, that wears on you over time. But eventually you just have to develop thick skin and move forward and realize that they're not the ones that live your life. They're not the ones that are paying your light bill. They're not the ones that have to walk in your shoes. So you have to do what's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Network marketing itself as a business model, unfortunately, sometimes in our industry, there's a lot of, and not just our industry. I mean, just people, right? Easier way. There's just an easier way. There's a faster way. Get involved in, magic beans kind of a thing. Obviously, that's not network marketing. But others, who have maybe I think a real a positive and reasonable perspective, say, listen, network marketing isn't perfect. You know, it's not magic, but you said that one magical word, exponential growth. You know, you don't get that in your regular business, no matter how many hours you work. I've heard people say network marketing isn't perfect. It's just better. It's just a better way. If you were to weigh in on just in general network marketing, and then what you found at LifeVantage, how would, you know, are you a proponent of network marketing? Are you a proponent of that model? Do you believe in it?
Yeah, I mean, for most people, I think it is a better way. And most people are, as Eric Worre would say, coin operated, meaning that they go to a job, they get a paycheck. They stop going to a job, they stop getting a paycheck. But the beauty of network marketing is it gives you that residual income month after month. So if a family crisis arises and you have to be out of the picture for a month, you still get a check. So that's one way in which I believe that network marketing is better than the standard model. But you know, there's network marketing and then there's network marketing. There's some really good network marketing companies and there's some really bad network marketing companies and there's some mediocre network marketing companies. Now, Pam and I had done another network marketing company prior to LifeVantage, but we never got very far. We didn't have any significant degree of success whatsoever. And when I look back on that experience and compare it to where we're at now with LifeVantage, there's a couple of key differences. One was the product that the other company we were in sold was expensive. It was about $150 a month for one person. Protandim is $40 a month per person. Number two, the scientific studies that we have with our products blow away everything else that's out there. And that's honestly the only reason that I decided to get involved with LifeVantage was because of the science behind our products. You mentioned the 22 peer-reviewed scientific studies. That was huge. That was a big, big deal for me. And that made me a strong believer and proponent. And I dug into the science very deeply, learned the mechanism of action of NRF2 and why that was so important and so forth. So that gave me a lot of confidence that what I was doing was indeed the right thing. And then finally, the support that we got in this company was light years ahead of what we had had in the other company. From the moment that we enrolled, we had our people on our team reaching out to us, wanting to help us, coming here to our humble little community in South Dakota to actually do meetings for us. That didn't happen in the other company. So the combination of the price point, the science, and the help that we got from our team were really the key differentiating factors between this and the other company we were in.
Awesome. Last question. And this has been, I'm getting tingles right now. Just, you know, my goosebumps are getting goosebumps. This has been awesome. I know that people who are listening to this and who are watching this are going to walk away with an incredibly insightful, you know, inspirational perspective on what they can do with their own life. I'm a new person, or you're a new person. You're looking at LifeVantage right now. And again, keeping it in context, because this is not about Mark Gordon. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about the person who's behind in a seat, you know, maybe they're walking in their smartphone and they're watching this video right now. What's the opportunity for them? Where does this LifeVantage thing and NRF2 activation, gene, you know, genomics, future, and the coming forth of healthcare technologies that essentially nobody knows about, where does that leave the new person with an opportunity to have life-changing status like you?
Well, first off, I would say that network marketing levels the playing field, and it doesn't matter what your background is. You could be, you know, a cardiologist like I am. You could be an attorney. And believe it or not, we actually work together. Doctors and lawyers work together in network marketing. That is to believe. It's like a utopia, right?
Right.
You could be a doctor. You could be a lawyer. You could be a stay-at-home mom. You could be a plumber. You could be a construction worker. It doesn't matter. Everybody has the same opportunity. And everybody brings a different skill set to the table. Some people have the gift of gab. I don't. My wife does. Some people have a great understanding for the products like I do. Some people have a great understanding for the business model like you do. We're not all perfect. We don't have every one of the individual aspects that perhaps may make you successful, but you can have access to all of those people that are successful. So from a business standpoint, the level playing field is a huge deal, and the fact that you've got so many people to help you out that will help, that their success is distinctly tied to your success. Now, from the standpoint of the science and the products and the NRF2, nutrigenomics, or the bigger term epigenetics, is really a hot new topic in medicine and in healthcare. And we are just beginning to understand the role that not only nutritional supplements, but certain foods and certain lifestyle changes play on turning on and turning off genes in our body. So the example I like to use is this. You may have the genetic predisposition to, say, have colon cancer, and there are certain things that you can put into your body that if you do so, you're going to get colon cancer. But likewise, we now know that there are things that you can put into your body that can turn those genes off so that you don't develop the colon cancer. And that's the whole area of nutrigenomics. And that's exactly what LifeVantage is doing with their products, particularly with the NRF1 and the NRF2 products. And so NRF2, for those of you that don't know, the brief explanation is this. It's a protein that's in every cell in your body, and when it gets turned on, its job is to activate the genes that degrade and neutralize the free radicals. And the free radicals are what cause the oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is linked to hundreds of different health conditions. So you can imagine reducing oxidative stress would be a good thing. NRF2 is the key anti-aging pathway that turns on those genes that helps with that entire process. And likewise, NRF1 is another messenger protein that turns on another set of genes that help to improve the function and the number of the mitochondria, which is also critically important to the entire aging process. So with NRF1 and NRF2, it's kind of like a 1-2 punch. And in the bigger scheme of things, if you look at the medical community now, there's lots of companies that are doing studies on how some people metabolize certain drugs differently and why one drug may work better in one person than another person. Mm-hmm. That's the entire phenomenon of epigenetics and how one person deals with a particular compound in their body. And we at LifeVantage, I believe, are at the cutting edge of that with our NRF1 and our NRF2 technologies.
Well, I'm excited to post this. I'm excited to call 20 of my friends, honestly, this week and say, I have something you need to listen to. And that's the beauty of network marketing. It's what you and Pam did when you came home from that event. Fortunately, it was in San Diego. I mean, fortunately. Mark, thanks so much for taking time, for being here, for educating me, for sharing your experience. And we look forward to many, many, many more years of wild success with people we have never even met yet.
Thank you so much for your time, Seth. I appreciate it.
Thanks. We're going to hit the stop button right now.
All right.